We are 42 days away from the start of spring training with pitchers and catchers report. Hard to believe next month we get going already, and we haven't really reached wintertime here in Wisconsin yet. I know some of you guys are concerned about the lack of movement with the Milwaukee Brewers. I know I am. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Whole team is going to do a few things before training camp. Spring training opens up in 42 days, but nothing surprises me. The payroll is under $100 million as we speak, and that's not a good thing. Good to have you along here. First-year host of Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, and it's great to join you here as we are on a few times a week during the off-season, keeping you posted anything that goes on with the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, when the Brewers do have breaking news, we're right here reporting and telling you all about it, but there hasn't been breaking news since Brandon Woodruff. The Brewers announced on Thanksgiving weekend that Friday night before Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving, that they were not going to tender him a contract. And since then, it's really kind of been dead. Let's face it. Nothing really to speak of and all that. So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Again, appreciate everybody for joining us here on Locked On Brewers. You get our podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. Any place you download your podcasts. We're the number one Brewer podcast on the internet from you because of you great Brewer fans out there. You guys make us that way. And I appreciate that. And of course, go to YouTube, our growing YouTube page. Go to Locked On Brewers, hit subscribe, hit the bell. It'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Yeah, a couple times a week, 3 times a week or so, we are here on Locked On Brewers, keeping you fresh with any information and anything that's going on with this current roster as it stands at $98 million, that payroll does. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Score with the NFL season. FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, coming up here today, we'll talk about that, the lack of movement and what you think. Brewers did make a minor move today. A lack of movement at first base. And who were you right about and who were you wrong about in the Milwaukee Brewers, in the history of the Brewers? Yeah, it's the offseason. We got a chance to kick that idea around a little bit. But first of all, this current roster right now, $98 million, this is not what I hope the Milwaukee Brewers have visions of going into opening day. I know we're a long way, and some of you might say, relax. Yeah, I'm relaxed. But I know that this team has got to get better in the offseason. And right now, it's lost the manager. You could say first base, third base. What's going on there? Traded a couple of pieces to get a pitcher who's not going to be on this team in 2024, if ever. So, yeah, I'm a little concerned at this point. But, there could be some moves made in spring training between now and then. But as of right now, yeah, I'm looking at it. And the rest of the division, nobody's really done anything in this division so far. The Cardinals have made a couple moves, but you're looking to keep up with the Joneses, but you also want to become better with everybody else in the league. Well, of course, the Dodgers got better in the offseason, as we knew they would, spending just, throwing money around, spending money. That deferred money idea, that's a little different. And somebody brought this up to me the other day. Why don't the Brewers try something like that, where they give somebody like $2 million and then promise them $40 million down the road, and by the time he gets to that, now you deal him. So you pay him $2 million, but hey, we'll pay you $40 million in 10 years from now. A little IOU. Mark Athanasio should write him a little IOU. Here you go, Brandon Belt. There's a little IOU. We'll give you this much now, but down the road, we'll give you a ton of money. How about that? So we've been tossing the idea of Belt, Garrett Mitchell coming back here, who they traded away for a song to the Yankees. But we'll see. But this current roster right now, I am not happy about it. And, I just hope that things do get better going forward on this, because I know some of you too, I threw it out on Twitter. I said, what do you think of this roster? Spring training opens up next month. How do you feel about the current state of the team? Most of you guys didn't have much to say about it. I mean, not much positive to say about it. Mark says, any new rumblings about this guy headed our way? And he shows Pete Alonso jacking one. Yeah, no rumblings. The only rumblings you're hearing about Pete Alonso are coming from me, and I'm starting them with no substance whatsoever. No fly on the wall, no sources on that. Just that a guy, a sportscaster in Milwaukee like me wants Pete Alonso with the Milwaukee Brewers, despite only having 1 year of controllable available. So, yeah. Mark, any new rumblings about this guy heading our way? Unfortunately, nothing of substance. Solar Joe says, so far, Arnold has been working on shoring up the back end of the roster, hoping for a Contreras-style creative trade yet this winter for a first baseman or a third baseman. Yeah, he's been doing a good job. The Brewers have done a nice job getting backup catchers and, guys coming out of the bullpen, maybe who might make this roster, losing a manager, hiring the bench coach. We've been busy doing that side of thing, but, getting frontline players hasn't quite happened yet. But, yeah, the back end of this roster, the back end of the 40-man sure looks good. Or what is it right now? 39, I think? 39, 38. Timmy says, it's why I did not renew my 10-pack with the Brewers. I could see that because, about a month ago, that customer service person called me up. Nice person, gave me a voicemail, gave me a sales pitch over the voicemail like they gave to 1,000 different other people. Really no passion to it, no energy, just something she read. Really missing me as a season ticket holder, really missing me. Oh, God, we'd love to have you back, Mr. Friedman. Love to have you back. Sure you would. I know you can miss me. You start by getting my name right. But yeah, no, I can understand. I love going to games. I love going to Sunday games. It was a 20-pack holder until I found out that getting them on the app seems to be getting easier to get good tickets these days. On one of the, the apps that are out there, that the resale ticket apps. So, but I can understand if you didn't renew your 10-pack. I do want be a 20-pack owner again someday when my kid does get. And yeah, I can understand it if I was going to renew right now. I always told before COVID, I told my customer service guy, I'd say, yeah, I want to see how this team, where we're going with the direction of this team. They call me in December. Well, we haven't done anything yet. Nothing gives me motivation to buy the season ticket package. And I'd always end up doing it. But I can definitely see if you're a season ticket holder, I'm not going to say don't do it. I mean, that's your choice. I love going out to AmFam Field. I love going to the games, but I also want to see a competitive team. And this roster right now, there would be a lack of motivation to renew my 10-pack, as Timmy says he's not. Allison says, the Brewers are going to do Brewer things, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I get that. You're right on. Brewers doing Brewer things. That's what they're doing right now. Brewers are doing Brewer things. Not making any blockbuster moves. D-Wark says, it's beginning to get alarming that there's not been something done at first and third base. Even if Tyler Black is the plan at third, say so. Otherwise, we just see a hole. I get way to get out the market, but the big picture, there's not a lot of time left. They're not giving Tyler Black the third base job just yet because I think they're not going to say, well, that's my third baseman. I think they're waiting to see that maybe something might materialize here in the offseason. A better option than Tyler Black. We kind of think that he's going to be a third baseman. Could be the option at first base. Who knows? I don't think they know. They're just trying to settle. It's too early to settle in on saying this young guy is going to be my third or first baseman at this point. Because what if Alonso does come along? I know that's expecting too much for the Milwaukee Brewers. I get it. John says, the success of the Milwaukee Brewers would depend on various factors, including player performance, team dynamics, and competition. That's one way to look at it, John. Tom says ownership used the same plan the owner in Major League tried to use to get out of Cleveland. So you think Mark Attanasio is trying to work his way out of Milwaukee? They decide they got to be here till 2050. Now they got to be here for a while. They're on the clock for a few years yet. So I don't think he's trying to do what they did in Cleveland. I hope not. 98 million. A couple of years ago was 122 million. So we got some money that we better not be taking a step back with that payroll. We better not. Not with 35, 40,000 coming in there on a Sunday. No way to be cutting back on the payroll. Frank says, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. You got it, Frank. Jason says, why aren't they doing anything, do you think? Why aren't they doing anything? Well, you know what? The Brewers have to do Brewers moves. They're not going to make a play for Shohei, obviously, and guys like that. Or I think they're waiting for there's not really anybody doing major things out there, but the Brewers need to be proactive in this offseason. And maybe they're just waiting for the right deal to come along. They don't want to spend. They're not going to spend. And they're waiting for something, just the right move to come along. They signed a backup catcher. They did a great job doing that. Eric Haas. I mean, we love him. Not Moose Haas, but Eric Haas. Todd says, I think they're looking like a 72-90 team. This roster right now, if we're going to go to war with that 5-man and a projected starting lineup, I gave a projected starting lineup about a month ago. Yeah, that's about right. 72-90. It does. It looks like 70, but in this division, this division stinks. Jason just gave a big thumbs down. Utah Dino says, cue the clown music. Yeah, most of you aren't happy. I didn't see one comment in there saying, well, hey, let's sit back and wait. Let's get excited about this or that. Yeah, it's tough to get excited right now about the 2024 Brewers, but it could change. Remember the Milwaukee Bucks in training camp? Before training camp started, they went out and got Damian Lillard. How'd that turn out for their defense? Long way to go. But yes, are the Brewers going to make a blockbuster deal? Will they ever surprise us? When the Brewers do surprise us, you always got to hold your breath on something like that, All right, we return. We'll talk about this move the Brewers made today. Getting a picture from the LA Dodgers, not named Clayton Kershaw. See what you think about that. And of course, we're going to get to this. I threw this out there. What do you think? Was there somebody who you were wrong about or right about in Brewer history? It's an off season. We have a chance to throw a few of these out there. Some of you had some interesting ones, really good ones. We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, all your everydayers, for joining us on Locked On Brewers. And of course, we are here every day with you talking Brewers baseball, as we should. I'm 3 times a week during the off season, which is plenty for the off season. And of course, when breaking news breaks, we'll be right here, just like we were for the Brandon Woodruff stuff. I was in Chicago for that, sitting in my hotel. Shannon wanted to go out and party on the town in Chicago. I said, wait, got to see who they're tendering a contract to. It was a Friday night, right during Thanksgiving holiday. And I was like, I waited it out and found out about Brandon Woodruff. It was sad that they weren't tendering him a contract. All right, but this show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, hey, is there a better time than right now to get in all the action? You got the playoffs coming up. The regular season is winding down in the NFL. You got college basketball gearing up here in conference play. You got the championship game in college football next Monday night. It's all good. The app is so easy to use on FanDuel. And plus, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Yeah, $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Same game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. The best way to find popular parlays and a whole lot more. Live lines, traditional lines, player props. It's all there. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on LOCKEDON, Locked On, to make your first bet a layup. Again, $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place that first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Can't wait for the NFL playoffs, man. Saturdays. I love this. I love the Saturday, Sunday NFL. I do. I love it. I love it, especially when it's not on, one of those pay-per-views that we got to pay to buy the app, and then the app is stopping every 10 minutes. We're coming right back after this here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Find us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. And, of course, all you have to do is go to Twitter and find me, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND, at Chuck Freeman. And always look forward to your comments, questions, whatever you want to talk about Milwaukee Brewers baseball. I'm here for you all the time. You got something you want to talk about? Message me, DM me. It's all good. I check my Twitter quite frequent, so it's all good. And then, of course, if you haven't subscribed, please go to our YouTube page. It's free. YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. The winter warm-up is coming up on January 13th. Got a little email from the Brewers today. Want to know if I was going to come out there and cover it. It's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. I think it's really cool. I hope in the future, it's going to be downtown Milwaukee, but I hope in the future they start holding these things at AmFam Field. They're going to winterize AmFam Field with financing the new ballpark, with the ballpark. The new finance package to do the upgrades. They're going to winterize AmFam Field. So what that means is they're going to put heat in there. So we should be going in AmFam Field for the winter warm-up, for Brewers Fest, or whatever they want to call it. Why don't they call it Brewers Fest? I mean, this is where Summerfest was invented. Why don't we call it Brewers Fest? But the winter warm-up, January 13th. Get you fired up for Brewer baseball because, a couple of weeks later, they'll be reporting. But let's move that to AmFam Field, okay, in the future. Why are we going to downtown Milwaukee for this? Let's bring people into AmFam Field for the winter warm-up, starting once they put those heaters into the ballpark. I don't know why we're not doing it now. But with the heaters, we can go down the field and all that, near the field or on the track there or whatever. But let's find a way to get this thing at AmFam Field. The payroll at $98 million for the Brewers. Some of you have asked about the TV rights with the Brewers. What's going on there? Simply put, I don't know, and we may not have an answer with the Milwaukee Brewers. Somebody tweeted at me, "Do you know what's going to go on for Brewers TV?" We know they're going to be on TV. Where they're going to be is anybody's guess. Will the Brewers just take this in-house and do this? It's not like the Brewers aren't going to be on TV. They're going to be on. They have to be on, home and away. Unless Bud Selig takes over the team again and says, no, we're not going to air home games because people won't come to the games. I mean, can you imagine that mentality? The Bucks and the Brewers used to have that where, well, we don't want people not to come to games, so we're not going to put on home games on TV. Yeah, that worked. That was a smart idea. I don't know who didn't talk Bud out of that idea. Not airing home games. As a result, people in Milwaukee did not see Juan Nieves' no-hitter back in 1987. Well, wait, they did. They did, because that was a road game. They didn't see, I don't believe we saw the Easter Sunday game. I don't think that was on TV. The Easter Sunday, because it was a home game. Yeah, that wasn't on TV, 1987. I think you had to go to a bar and have them pick it up because the MLB ticket wasn't around back then. Anyway, who were you right about and who were you wrong about? The Milwaukee Brewers. I'll give mine here coming up a little bit. I want to get yours first of all. I put this out there, and this list is growing here on Twitter. I put this out on Twitter. Joe says, Yost did a lot better than I expected, but to this day, I am still perplexed at what happened to the team in September, why they surprisingly showed him the door. That surprised a lot of people. It did. When they showed him the door in 2008, made Swaim the manager. God, that was surprising. And then Swaim didn't keep the job, which was even some more. They went to Swaim, and then they said, nah, we're good. And then they moved on from him. Yeah, that was a little surprising. Maka, says Bob. I thought he'd be better. Yeah, Maka had some success in Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh. But apparently couldn't relate to the team. Bob says, I thought Latchman. Yeah, Rene Latchman came here because he was with the Seattle Mariners, and the Mariners were an expansion team, and they couldn't get out of their own way. And, he had some success with a rotten roster. So the Brewers brought him over here for 1984, and he was just terrible. And they got rid of him after 1 year. And they brought back George Bamberger. Ryan says, Jonathan's Scope and Luke Voigt. Yeah, I thought Scope would be better too. Luke Voigt, yeah, him too. But I thought Scope, who had one big hit in 2018 when he hit the grand slam off Bumgarner on a Sunday afternoon against San Francisco. Yeah, I thought Jonathan Scope would be better too. Tom says George Bamberger exceeded his expectations. When he took over, I thought it would be the same old. He was wrong. Well, when Bamberger took over in 1978, the Brewers were 7 years into their franchise. I don't know. I didn't know what to think because they brought him over from Baltimore. Baltimore is successful, very successful pitching staff. They had, and Bamberger was the pitching coach there. And they brought him over, and Bamberger played, it was Bambi's Bombers, and they were a success. And Harry Dalton put the thing together to them. But Bamberger, I didn't know what to think, but Tom said he thought that Bamberger, he was unsure. He didn't think he'd do wrong. Taylor Youngman, says Nick, had a solid 2015. He was called up, fell off after that, went to Japan, signed with the Rangers after in the 2020 season, but was released. Yeah, big guy. I thought Taylor Youngman was going to be the real deal too. Just the number one of several pitchers drafted that just didn't work out for the Milwaukee Brewers. JG says, I thought Keston would be a perennial 300 hitter with some pop in his bat. Yep. Many opportunities. I thought he'd get called up this past year. Keston, man, he was a AAA standout, but he couldn't get it done on the major league level. Just couldn't get it done. I don't think Keston is with anybody right now either. But yeah, we all want to Keston up here. Let's keep him on this roster in 2019. I remember doing sports talk in Milwaukee. Everybody wanted Keston on this team. And who would have saw it going south in about a year? Nick says, I was wrong about Jesse Winker and Luke Voigt. Yeah, Luke, I thought he'd be the first baseman going forward. Kind of a reclamation project. He had some good years with the Yankees. Couldn't get out of his own way with the Brewers, too, to use that term again. And Jesse Winker, I thought a fresh start with him after leaving Seattle would be good. I like Jesse Winker. And early in the season, he did provide some big hits. And then he was booed in both wild card at-bats that he got. Chicago Adonis says, Yost was much better than expected, especially early on. Their crew kind of choked in 2007. Yeah, I thought they should have finished up. They got off to that great start, 23-10, and never really built on it. Let a winnable division slip out of their way. But Yost, yeah, he says Yost should have probably let him go then. Yeah, Yost, I thought he was a good hire. Hired him, 2004? But he won a World Series in Kansas City. Matthew says Jed Bradley, Taylor Youngman. Yep. Kind of touched on Youngman, Bradley too. Benjamin said, kind of thought Counsell wouldn't be a traitor and go to the only team that should end his legacy in Milwaukee. Yeah. Never guessed Counsell would have went, but I think the thing there is I was surprised how Counsell handled it, and he didn't think there'd be such an uproar about it. Are you kidding me? Benjamin said I was wrong. I was wrong too. Run places. Burns, I thought he'd only be a reliever. He had good stuff to be a starter. And Cy Young, I didn't think he'd ever be a Cy Young Award winner. But yeah, he came up in 2018, had some good stuff out of the pen. Big down the stretch for them in 2018. Sixto says, failed. I thought Joey Meyer, Andy Rep logo. Joey Meyer, big guy from Hawaii, failed. Exceeded expectations. Dave Parker was here for a year. Yeah, he was. At the end of his career, the Cobra was good. He's having some health problems right now. But never thought I'd see the day when Dave Parker was going to become a Milwaukee Brewer after that guy was a star with the Pirates in the late 70s. Exceeded my expectations. Yolesh Shasteen. Yeah, he did. Mine too. Short-lived, though. My Mine were, who was I right about? Rowdy Tellez. Never thought this guy was going to be an everyday first baseman, everyday productive first baseman. Not surprised at the way it ended for Rowdy Tellez. I think we jumped too much on the Rowdy Tellez bandwagon because I think we loved him. I think, you know, the big first baseman, we love those guys in Milwaukee. We jumped on the Tellez bandwagon. I said, don't jump on it. We did. And Tellez wasn't even on the postseason roster. Who was I wrong about? Davey Lopes. When they signed him as the manager, following Phil Garner in 99, 2000, I thought Davey Lopes, tough guy coming in. God, was he a disaster. He was a jerk, disaster. You know, I remember him as a second baseman from the Dodgers, but man, what a disappointment he was. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk about this trade for the Brewers made with the Dodgers. That's coming up next here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host. Thanks for joining me here on Locked On Brewers, whether you're joining me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're joining us. Thank you very much. The Brewers did make a trade for Brian Hudson from the Dodgers, 6'8" lefty, possibly a bullpen arm, pitched in 6 games for the Dodgers. Brewers gave up a minor league pitcher and the old player to be named later / cash. Well, again, helping out the back end of that 40-man with Brian Hudson. Another thing where they're big left-handed, 6'8", trying to find lightning in the bottle with this guy and see if there's some upside to a 6'8" lefty. That's the way I look at it. And that's going to be it for the show today. Thank you, everybody, for those who tweeted in. And lack of movement of the Milwaukee Brewers, hang in there. We got 42 days to the pitchers and catchers report. And, you know, about a couple of month and a half after that before opening day. So, yeah, I can definitely understand why there's disappointment. There's disappointment on my part, but I think a lot of teams in Major League Baseball are probably disappointed that there has not been a move. It's going to do it for the show. Thank you, everybody. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. My name is Chuck Freeman. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody.